Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. We're focused on politics with the upcoming election on November 4th. I'm here in the studio with Matt Patrick of Falmouth, a Democrat who is running for the state Senate in the Plymouth and Barnstable district, which covers Bourne, Falmouth, and Sandwich on the Cape, as well as Kingston, Pembroke, and Plymouth off Cape. The seat is open with the retirement of longtime state senator and Senate President Therese Murray. Also running for the seat is Republican State Representative Vinnie DiMacedo of Plymouth. Matt Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Laura. Good to be here.
Why don't we start with you introducing yourself to voters?
Thank you, Laura. My name is Matt Patrick. I'm former state representative. I served the 3rd Barnstable District for 10 years, and I managed to get a lot of good things done while there, and I hope to continue that effort as the state senator for the Plymouth and Barnstable District. I like making good things happen.
And tell us a little bit more about why you're running for state senate.
Well, when I was a state rep, I managed to get a lot of good things done. For example, I led the fight to close corporate tax loopholes when I found out that there were 1,200 corporations grossing between $100 million and $1 billion and paying the minimum tax of $456. I thought that was outrageous. I led an effort in the House successfully to close that corporate tax loophole. They were offshoring their money. That made $200 million available to the Commonwealth immediately, and that went into local aid for cities and towns across the Commonwealth. And it also leveled the playing field for corporations that were paying their fair share. There are many of them that were paying their fair share of taxes and at an unfair competitively with the corporations that weren't. So that was really critical to me. I also wrote sections of the Green Communities Act that have made Massachusetts the leader in creating green communities jobs, or green energy jobs. We now have about 7,000 companies in Massachusetts in that field, and they're employing close to 80,000 people. We are leading the country in that area, and it is the fastest growing sector of economy. I hope to continue in that effort to create jobs by pursuing offshore wind, which is going to be a great growth industry for our coastal communities.
Now, you've talked about some of your accomplishments when you were a state rep, and you feel that you can continue on some of those things for if you were to get into the state Senate. Are there other big issues that you feel you could do something about if you were to be elected as state senator?
Well, there are many other issues. I'd love to help continue to make Massachusetts an international leader in education. I also want to help our college kids refinance their loans that are outstanding so they can get into the economy, start new businesses with lower debt load, hopefully at lower interest rates. I think there's much that can be done in that area. I also want to make community colleges free and available to everyone that can get through high school. And, that I think those are important things. If you want to improve the future of the Commonwealth, you have to improve the education of our children, and I think that's extremely important. I also will be looking at health insurance. We now have some of the most expensive health insurance per capita in the world, in the history of the world, and there's much we can do to lower that cost, either through new forms of insurance or cutting out the waste, fraud, and abuse in the insurance industry.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. We're talking to candidates in local races in advance of the November 4th election, and I'm talking with Matt Patrick today, who is running for state senate in the Plymouth and Barnstable district. You've been mentioning a few different issues you'd like to work on if you were elected to the state senate. What do you think are the most pressing issues in the district that you could help with if you were elected?
Well, jobs and the economy are the most important things, and I think there's a lot that can be done. I mentioned offshore wind, and that people might think that's kind of a long shot or a long ways down the road, but if they just remember it was only about 14 years ago that Cape Wind was proposed. It's now finally gone through all the environmental hurdles, and it will be start construction next year in early 2015. People might remember I was the only legislator from the Cape that held the door open for Cape Wind. And I also fended off a lot of efforts in the House to make it illegal to build anything in Nantucket Sound. So I think well, now that it is coming into, it's going to be construction. It's going to employ about 1,000 people in the construction phase and another 55 full-time people in the operations and maintenance continuous over its lifetime. And there will also be many, many extra jobs or jobs created in our towns because of Cape Wind. There will be, they call them ancillary jobs or secondary jobs, from the hardware store clerk to the real estate agent, and it's going to be a big, big part of our community. There are another 740,000 acres 12 miles south of Martha's Vineyard that the federal government is leasing for offshore wind. And when that gets going, that's what I'm hoping. Cape Wind will become a springboard for us to jump into that part of the industry. And we're also working hand in hand with Mass Maritime Academy at Cape and Island Self-Reliance to do the training for these positions, which is comprehensive and very necessary for people working on these machines.
Now, on the Cape and in the region in general, we talk a lot about the problems with drug addiction and how that's related to crime. What would you do in that area? Do you have ideas for perhaps ways to do things differently when it comes to the opiate abuse epidemic?
I don't know how different my ideas are on that subject, but clearly we need to do more. And I think just taking kids or people who have addiction problems and putting them in jail is not the way to solve the problem. I think we have to devote more to counseling, more to eliminating the problem. In the first place, doctors have to know better about giving these prescriptions out. They have to be much more restrictive. I think our pharmacists have to be very aware of how these drugs are being doled out. So there are many things that are in the works, and I will be open to all of these going forward. But I think Senate President Therese Murray did a great job in initiating a lot of these efforts already.
Now, for people deciding who to vote for in this race, how do you tell people you differ from your challenger, Vinnie DiMacedo?
Well, number one, I managed to get legislation through. My opponent has not been able to get much through that I've been able to find. I'm also not going to tell people what to do with their lives. I'm not going to tell women that they can't participate or they can't choose what they want to do with their own bodies. And he's clearly in that camp. He's voted against the Bufferville bill around family planning clinics twice, early in 2007 when we established the buffer zone, and just recently when they had to rewrite the legislation after the Supreme Court judgment, and he voted against it again. He's also voted to repeal gay marriage. Twice, or not voted, he's filed legislation to do that, and I will not do that. He's also filed bills to censor school books, and to make it a criminal offense for teachers to recommend or to give kids books that somehow mention any kind of sex in them, and that would literally ban books like Anne Frank's The Diary of Anne Frank and many other popular children's books. And I think that's wrong. I don't think we need to do that stuff. I will be working exclusively to make things better for families and the citizens of not only the Plymouth and Barnstable district but also the Commonwealth. That's what I like to do, and that's what I will focus my attention on.
Going through other big issues on the Cape and in the region in general, affordable housing and what can be done with that. We have the issue on Cape in particular of young people leaving the Cape. One of the reasons sometimes given is the lack of affordable housing. Any ideas in that area? Well,
that's clearly one of the problems. And I have to say that after the Peace Corps, my wife and I located to Cape Cod because there was affordable housing. We wouldn't have been able to live here without that. So I'm very understanding of that issue. But we also have to create the jobs, and that's where the offshore wind energy jobs will really fill a void. It will create a brand new industry for our coastal communities that will replace a lot of the industries that we don't have anymore. But there's things that we can do with housing. We can provide cluster development or areas where there is sewering, and we do have services. We have the transportation hubs. We can offer developers denser zoning in these areas. And I'd like to see us go to maybe not 4 stories, but maybe 3 stories for denser development. There are many brownstones in our cities, brick buildings, double-deckers that have provided affordable housing for many, many families throughout the centuries in the United States. And I think that's something that we can do and should do in these hubs where we have the transportation and we also have the sewering and the services to go along with that.
We have just a short time left. I did want to touch on one other issue, which is the idea of a third bridge in the Cape, because that affects that district that you're running for. What are your thoughts on a third bridge?
Initially, I'm not crazy about it. I think I have to hear the arguments for it. I was not privy to those talks that occurred recently, the Cape Cod Commission, but. Certainly, we need to do something. I think getting rid of the rotary at the Bourne Bridge is another project that would probably cost much less money. I'm not a big fan of privatization of our roads and bridges. I'm going to have to listen to all the arguments before I make a decision.
And in just 20 seconds or so left, any last message to leave with voters?
Well, I remember what Alex de Tocqueville said, that in a democracy you get what you deserve, and I think the people of the Plymouth and Barnstable district deserve the best, and I'm confident that if they do the research, look into our websites, they will vote for me.
Matthew Patrick, thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you, Laura. It's been a pleasure.
I've been talking with Matt Patrick, who is running for state senate in the Plymouth and Barnstable district. I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal.
Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.